Welcome back to the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. I am your host, the author of Shut the Hell Up and Sell, Ronell Richards. You know what? I usually do a little bit of a build up before each episode. I tell you to do things like, subscribe, listen to the other episodes and all that. I'm just going to get straight into this shit this week. Straight into it because, I've got a guy that not only that I admire quite a bit. I know a lot of you guys out there admire as well in this sales game and sales instruction and doing this thing. He's a guy that has one name. He has one damn name. I got Keenan in the house. Keenan, what's happening?
How you doing, baby? Baby Doug, you're smooth, like for real. Like you are like Barry White smooth. Like I hear your voice and it's just like, what's crazy is some brothers, they're brothers from the second they start talking. I'm not that dude.
No, right?
Like I'm not that dude. It must be the white side of me. Dad was black, mom was white. That must be the white side of me. You know what I'm saying? But dude, you are just, for real, I feel like I'm listening to one of those old school radio stations back in the 80s and 90s.
I could do that, right?
Yeah. Like you're the Bob Menery of freaking hip hop and radio sounds. Dude, for real. Like you started talking, I was like, oh, that.
So here's the thing, man. You know what? I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to be on the radio, like, when I was a teenager, because that was cool back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And I thought they made money. Then I found out they didn't make money. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Truth. Smart man. Mm-hmm.
So
you could have.
Well, thank you. And I still can. I'm doing it. Hold on. I'm doing it right now.
For real.
Is this what we're doing?
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, you are the author of Gap Selling. You've been changing the game. When did that book come out? 18?
Yeah, but I say 19 now because it literally came out 2 weeks before 2019. So if I say 18, that adds a whole nother year in people's heads. So for all intent and purposes, very beginning of 2019.
Wow. And now you're up to what? 7.8 million copies or something. I don't know.
I wish. We're going to cross, I think we already did, or we're about to cross 100,000.
Man, congratulations to you, my friend. I know how hard that is. And it speaks to your impact. It speaks to your community. So kudos to you. And congrats on that.
I know a lot of people think 100,000. I tell people that are like, oh, why isn't it 1 million? Like, I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 sales books in the history of fucking the world that sold over 1 million books. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a handful of those. So publishers have told me and other people told me, you get over 100,000 books sold, you are legit. So I'm like, all right, I'll take that.
Well, I read that the average book for its lifetime, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not just talking about the first year. Lifetime sells under 200 copies. Under 200, right? And half of those are like family. Like real talk.
Yeah. Facts. Mm-hmm.
So let's hop into it, man, because this podcast is it's really about having a conversation with you. Literally, dude, I could do this for hours. In fact, we did this before on the Business and Bourbon podcast. So shout out to the Business and Bourbon podcast. Make sure that you guys check that out as well. Keenan guested on that. We were in Colorado hanging out and Birth of a Sales Guy. I love that title. I think of all the titles of the episodes, and that's that title. So make sure you guys check that out. Anyway, let's hop into it, man. I want to start with, where did it begin for you, my friend? Like, what was your first sales gig, and how long have you been in this game now?
Okay, so I get asked this question a lot, and like anything else, I learn as I get older, and maybe not older, as I work more and more in sales, and I work more and more around gap selling. I have an uncanny knack to ask people to define things, right? So, or my head wants a definition because it's not always so black and white for me. So, to me, the definition of that, let me ask you a question. Do you mean my formal career in my very first formal job where someone paid me to make a quota? Or do you mean, how did I realize that I was a salesperson, and where did the whole concept of Keenan being a salesperson start?
Yeah, we're going to start with the first gig. First time you got a check.
Okay. Yeah, I sold for the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce. So if you know what
Hmm.
a Chamber of Commerce is, most big cities have one. They work around what do you call it? Development, business.
Economic
Thank you.
development. And,
That's the
yeah.
word I'm looking for. Yes, thank you. I couldn't escape me. They work on economic development and work with the city and government officials as well as individual businesses. They pay a lot of money to get membership, and that membership turns around and becomes business friendly laws and blah 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 blah. So I started with selling
Mhm.
memberships for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when was that?
1996.
Let's go. Hey, don't laugh, man. We're gonna put a number to that shit.
Yeah.
We need to be proud of. That's part of what I'm about, and what this podcast is about. I want us to be proud. I know you are, but I
Oh,
want them to be proud because they suffer. Too many salespeople suffer from insecurity. You know that shit.
yeah.
They're not proud to be a salesperson. So hey, I want to put years to it. I want us to be proud of it. Because we should. Like we're driving the economy. You were driving the local economy there.
Oh,
Anyway, all
yeah.
right. So that was your first gig. So I want to go back to that. So tell me, what was that experience? And like for me, and I talk about this in the book. I started my sales career in jewelry, right? And some of the lessons that I learned in retail jewelry, they've been with me since then, and just like for example, the importance of relationships, how to build relationships, how to build those sorts of connections. Tell me something that you learned from that first gig that stuck with you to today.
Hustle.
Mm.
Hustle. I mean, I got the job. So back when I was better looking and had more hair and all
Is
that, I
that
was.
possible? Maybe a little more hair, but better looking. Come on, man.
Oh,
Look
you're
at
a
this
good
guy.
man. I appreciate that. Um, I was living in South Beach, Miami, modeling, and the only way to describe
Mm.
modeling is it's very similar to baseball, in that you get jobs in different markets and you get agents in different markets, and the more gigs you get and the better they like you, the more agencies will pick you up, right? So I was in Denver and I was trying to get on in Miami, which is sort of like AAA ball, and then New York City is like the pros, and getting an agent in
Yeah.
New York City, you need a really good book and have demonstrated blah blah blah. So I was down there trying to do that, and my buddy called me up and said, "You need to come home. You need to give this shit up." And I got a job for you at the chamber. And I'll never forget. I was sitting there thinking, okay, I'm a dude, and dudes don't make as much money in modeling as women. So the biggest name at that point in time was Tyson Beckford, right? And so
Hmm.
I sat there thinking, guessing in my head, said, okay, maybe Tyson makes $500,000. This is in the the 90s. He said maybe he makes $500,000 to $750,000 a year, but he's probably only got, if he's really good, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years left, right? I'm not going to be the next Tyson Beckford. That I know. So if I can squeak out of this thing $200,000 or $300,000 a year as a model, which is pretty good back then,
Hmm.
I might be able to do that 3-4 years, but then I'm done. I said, but if I can go start my career now, I could be making that $200,000-$300,000 in 4 or 5 years, and then make that shit the rest of my life. So it was a quick.
There you go.
I was like, all right, it's now versus the rest of my life. So I said, all right, you're right. Fuck it, I'm coming home. So I came home, and he got me the job with the chamber. And the reason I'm telling you this backstory is I went into the interview, and I had nothing to talk about. I had modeled and I was a bartender, right? I had nothing. So I had
Hmm.
this dude saying, look, Keenan's a natural salesperson. You need to hire him. So I was like, so they were like, okay, you got a lot of energy. You're articulate. You might do it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to hire you and this other dude who's been selling for years together.
Hmm.
Okay. That other dude was gone in 90 days. By the end of my first year, I was the number one rep at the entire chamber. The freaking president of the chamber was calling me like, who the fuck are you and where did you come from? We've had 2 reps here that have been here for 6 or 7 years and they've been phenomenal. And you just walk in one day and within a year you're
Oh,
outselling them? What's
right.
going on? So look, back then it was easier. Look, let's just keep it real. Everybody talking about how hard it was back then. I personally think it was easier because people picked up the fucking phone. If I got you to pick up the phone, you were buying whatever I was selling. Facts,
Hmm.
straight 100. So I thought it was easier. So it was a simple equation for me. Just make more calls, work harder, get more shit out, and I will win. And I built a whole system around, which is funny. I actually built a cadence, and in hindsight, I didn't even think about that when all this other shit came out. Like what Sales Loft and Outreach is doing, I built that shit manually my very first sales job. Had the whole thing built out and lined out and laid out, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, so I learned hustle. Hustle is just fucking work your ass off and you win.
So here's why I'm shaking my head through this whole thing, and I love that shit. I love it. Here's why. Because this is one of the pieces of advice that I give to leaders all the damn time. You know, if you've got a sales team that's like stagnant, right, and they're not reaching their potential, they've been around for a long time, they think they know every damn thing. What you do is you bring in somebody that doesn't know shit. You
Yeah.
didn't know. Part of the reason why you kicked their ass is you didn't know you weren't supposed to. You
Yep.
didn't know that the limitations that they perceived that they had. And so you just bust your ass, you worked hard, and you kicked their ass.
Yep.
I've done that a few times in my career where I've had to reboot a sales team. And man, I bring in someone young that doesn't know anything, and they just go. Now, they don't have to be young in age, guys, just like young to the business, or not have so many of these preconceived notions and bullshit that holds them back.
Yep.
And then they just kill it. So I love that. All right, great lesson. Take away from this, guys. Okay, my next question for you is, in our profession, a lot of us have had if you've been around this for a long time, you've had the benefit of some sort of mentorship. Now, I've spoken about this in the past, with my own struggles with mentorship, but I've always picked up something from folks, like whether it was something that was casual, something that was an official mentorship sort of role. And so I like to ask all my guests, hey, listen, share with me an unsung hero from your life. Now, this is someone that doesn't get all of the attention, right? We always tend to gravitate to the people that everyone knows. Sometimes on this, people have mentioned me, which thank you. Or you. I've had you mentioned as well. But I want to know, who's an unsung hero from your career, someone that just made an impact that maybe doesn't know that they did.
Okay, that's a great question. So I don't know why I feel a need to call this out, but I'm going to call it out. From a sales perspective, nobody. Nobody. Now, I don't know if that's because I threatened a lot of people, right? I threatened a lot of people. I probably still do now. I don't give a shit. But when I was younger, I threatened a lot of people. And so every job I took, I created waves. And it was a blind spot for a while. I was like, I don't get it. I'm here just trying to get my job done. I'm working really hard. Why does everybody have an issue with me? Well, I am loud and maybe I wasn't quite as humble as I could have been, et cetera. But I was never disrespectful. I never attacked anybody. So I'm just assuming that maybe people just didn't want, they were like, either didn't think I needed the help or they didn't want to help me because they felt I was a threat to them. So I don't know about that. But from a leadership perspective, there was one gentleman named Mike Sexy. I know, funny name, right? My first real manager after the chamber. So this dude, I still can't emulate his leadership style, but he still got me. He had a brilliant way of making you run through a wall without ever yelling at you, without ever being mad, without ever being intense. He was always smiling. He was always joking around. He almost seemed aloof, but yet it seemed very, he knew it almost like he was very deliberate. So he wasn't that type of man you felt intimidated by or afraid of. He'd walk into his office, he'd start joking and laughing, but you never questioned his leadership. You never looked at him as incapable. Like usually when you have those people that want to be your friend, you think they're idiots. You know what I'm saying? But he always was able to maintain this. I'm the boss. We're doing it my way. This is how it's going to work. But you felt fucking awesome and never intimidated. It was a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant management style.
Well, I mean, what did you think? What did he do? Like, let's break that down a little bit. Like, was it his calm? Was it his demeanor? You know, what I've seen from a lot of great leaders that, I think a lot of folks get caught up in the sensational part of leadership or sales for that matter, right? Like they look at movies like The Wolf of Wall Street and which romanticizes all this shit. And what I've seen is that the best sales leaders, the best leaders in general are kind of like this person, right? They're consistent. They're predictable. Is that maybe a quality that you noticed in him, or what was it?
No, he was approachable, but no, he was approachable. Like you wanted to run through a wall for him. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like I don't really know how to describe it without like you have to meet him, right? So that's probably why I haven't been able to emulate it as well as I would like. But I want you to think of like you're a guy that you think is your best friend built into a Bill Belichick. Like he knew he set the proper expectations. He told you what you were supposed to do. He made sure you understand what was expected. He told you what you would get if you achieved it. But then he was just always right there. He's always like right there, like just with a smile on his face, cutting jokes. I mean, and he was never threatening. His whole demeanor, like everybody has these natural demeanors. Like my demeanor is pretty intense, and so intense I don't even realize sometimes. I'll be laughing and having a great time, and people are like, "Man, you're intimidating." I'm like, intimidating? I just laughing my ass. Yeah, I'm like, I'm just laughing my ass off. What's intimidating about that? But clearly, there's something that emanates from me, right? He was just the opposite. So much so, I'll never forget this. We were coming back from, it had nothing to do with leadership, but I thought it was powerful. We were coming back from lunch one day. Me, him, he was the head of our branch, and then the guy who's going to take the branch over us, right? So, and we got pulled over by a cop. And I was in the back seat, the two in the front seat, and the cop gave him a ticket and then said, now here, if you pay it by this time and, you know, the fine will go down and the points will go down and all that. And he took the ticket and he looked up the cop and smiled and said, "Oh, you're having a sale." I was back there like, don't laugh, you got to get arrested. And he and the cop were laughing their ass off. You know what I'm saying? Like he just had this way of engaging people that disarmed them. And he used it brilliantly to lead and still get things out of people and not be perceived as their best friend and be taken advantage of.
Wow. What a great example, man. Shout out to Mr. Sexy.
I know, right? Best name ever, too. S-E-X-E. Know, right? Sexy. Yeah.
What? Love it. All right, man. So listen, you are full of great stories. And this is going to be hard as hell for you. Nonetheless, I am tasking you with sharing with me one story with me. I want you to share something that, I mean, you've written this book that has, you've sold 100,000 copies, but who knows how many, I mean, damn, dare I say millions of people you've impacted through all of the content you've been putting out there, through your blog, through your video content, the things you've been doing for over a decade. So this may be a little difficult for you to do, but I need you to share a story with me. Tell me a story that helps me to better understand one of the philosophies that you have in sales and in business. And this could be something that was a good experience, a bad experience, but you know, nonetheless, again, helped to shape this guy that is now influencing, you know, the world of sales.
I don't know how much this story shaped me. As much as it is an affirmation of a whole bunch of things I believe. So I did a video not too long ago on LinkedIn where I basically said why I'm a dick. I saw that. Yes. And it's not uncommon for people not to like me, particularly when they first meet me. I'm pretty no nonsense, especially in situations like training and in a business setting. Like, we're here to get shit done. But if people really get to know me, at the end of the day, I'm really about helping. Like like I want people to be successful. I want them to, I don't give a shit what your success is. Like I really don't. I don't judge your definition of success. I just want you to achieve your definition of success. So it's not uncommon for me to take meetings with people I don't know or to respond to their emails. Look, obviously I get more and more. So anybody listening to, I wrote you and you never got back to me. I do my best. Okay. So, several years ago, Larry Levine reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Keenan, I'm going to be in Denver. Forget why. Would you mind meeting me?" Now, I had never met him before. We had some level of engagement on social, but that was it. And at the time, Larry don't take this wrong, Larry, I love you, but he hadn't really done anything. He had no much of a social presence. I think he maybe read my book or something. So I said, fuck it, I'll meet with you for an hour. So we met at the really cool hotel, the Denver, it'll come to me, the Brown Palace. Really cool 1920s old hotel down in Denver. Beautiful big lobby. It doesn't really matter, but it's cool. And we talked. And the gist of the conversation ended with how can he get more exposure and grow his social presence? Because I think he did. He read Not Taught, if I remember correctly. He read that. And he wanted help around building his brand. And I said, look, dude, this is what you need to do. You need to post at least once a week, if not twice a week, on LinkedIn for an entire year. If you do that, I promise you your world will change. But I don't think you're going to do it. Most people won't do it. He did it. He did it. And through that action is where his book came out, Selling from the Heart. And I understand his book was just picked up by some big New York publisher he's all excited about. And now he has a fantastic online presence. He's a published author. People know who he is. I believe he has his own consulting practice right now. So he's doing a lot of public speaking. Like, his entire life changed because he did what I told him to do. I didn't really do anything. It's easy to give people advice. He followed it. He followed it, and it delivered exactly as I told him it would. So, that's a story I don't keep in the front of my mind, but then when I'm asked to dig, I'm like, I love that story because his entire life has changed. It's fucking awesome. It's awesome.
That is pretty cool. Shout out to Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I did a podcast with him. Yeah. He had a podcast. Larry, you had a podcast, right? We'll have to get Larry on this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he interviewed me a couple years ago. That's an awesome story, though. So again, guys, I think something to pull from that is, because I know you get a lot of people that reach out to you all the time asking for advice and direction and mentorship, and I get a decent amount of those folks as well. Listen, man, listen, pay attention. Don't reach out to folks if you're not going to follow the direction that they're giving you.
That's why I remember the story.
Experience.
He did it like that. It's not, the story isn't that I met with him. The story's not I was some nice guy or deserve a trophy. The story is he did what I suggested and kept doing it. Like he committed to it. I mean, I was out the other day on Saturday at this party, with Derby party in Denver. Denver has the largest Kentucky Derby party in the country, except for the actual Kentucky Derby. It's just like 6,000 people show up. It's freaking huge. And this dude grabbed me and goes, "Oh, hey, Keenan, are you Keenan?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I love your stuff. I watch your videos. You're awesome." I'm like, "Cool." And he said something, and I was like, "Oh, awesome." I said, "So did you read the book?" He goes, "Oh, no, I keep meaning to read the book. I haven't got it." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? It's like you have been following me and you didn't buy the book." And I think to myself, he's like, "Oh, I know." I'm like, "I don't do that for sales. Okay. The book is only $27 or $17 if you do the soft cover. So it's like $5 to me. I don't give a fuck about the $5. What blows my mind is that people don't invest in themselves. So you've been following me all this time. I get all of this advice, and yet you don't actually go read the book, which acts as the foundation for about 85% of all the content I create. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So, yeah, that's why.
And that's on audio.
I'm sorry?
It's on audio.
Yeah,
it's on
exactly.
audio. So if you can get it however you want to consume it. And that's something I had to take in consideration when I released the book, Keenan. I didn't have the audio. We released the audio like a month and a half later. I get it. People consume in different ways.
Yep.
Not everyone can sit down and read the book cover to cover, but man, you can get it on audio, you can get it on Kindle, you can get it on I don't know, what other ways are there?
Yeah,
I don't know. We could
everything soft cover, Audible, Kindle. Yeah, roll with it, right? Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got my hardcover right here, signed right on the side. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hop into to my final question for you. Let's get tactical, man, which you're excellent at. I want to leave our listeners with, I want them rather to take something from this episode that they can apply to their business. It can be whatever you want, man. So this can be a strategy, a sales strategy, it can be a content strategy, whatever. You're full of so much wisdom and experience. I just need you to leave one thing that they can take from this and apply to their business.
I think what I want to leave salespeople with is learn to diagnose. Learn to diagnose. I can tell you right now, 99% of most people do not know how to diagnose. And it's an amazing skill. I don't believe it's intuitive to people in general, to humans in general, people in general. I think some cultures, not only is it intuitive, I think the cultures are, I don't say anti-diagnosis, but it's unbeknownst to them, it's considered intrusive or uncomfortable, etc. But really, true diagnosing allows you to properly assess problems. And if you can properly assess problems, it puts you in the position, a better position than other people in learning how to make recommendations to solve those problems. So if you really take a step back, sales is not about the transaction. And 99% of the sales training over the last 5, 6, 7 decades is about the transaction. How do I manage the transaction? True selling should be, how do I manage the change? I'm asking a buyer to change, or a buyer is coming to me and saying, I think I want to change. And so therefore, if I do not address the change management aspect of it, then I can't be as successful and I can't influence the sale. So the only way that you can actually help properly manage change is to learn to diagnose first. What is going on today? What are they suffering from? What are the root causes of that suffering? How does that suffering manifest itself in the goals they're trying to ascertain or trying to achieve? How does that? How do those pains continue to plague the organization? What happens if the organization doesn't make a change? Why does it matter if that continues to happen? So the more you can dig into all of that, the more you position yourself as a credible, trusted advisor. And more importantly, the better you are to make a proper, customized recommendation on what to change to, when to change to it, how to change to it, etc.
There it is. You heard it from the man with one name, Keenan. Listen, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, which I know that you have, I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me. Start with the one thing. Go get this man's book. Go get the damn book. Keenan he's already broke it down to you and told you why you need to get the damn book, and then go get mine. If you haven't, first of all, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't got my book, what the hell? Come on, get a bundle. Yeah, I like that. Get a bundle, and you can get the audio and hear his voice battle. He's gonna win. I've got the sultry voice, but he's got the let's go get it voice, right?
What's the name of the book?
Anyway,
what's the name of the book?
Shut the Hell Up and Sell.
Good.
We're right there, everybody.
And what's the other book called?
If you're watching an audio, what other book?
The one you just told him to go buy.
Your book, Gap Selling.
Okay. I just realized I don't think we ever said it in the entire podcast except in the very opening.
What, Gap Selling?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Said it like a couple of. Well, you know what? That's on you.
No, I know it's on me. I know. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just thinking, rather than me blurt it out, I'm like, I'll just play this game of question and answer and get you to say it for me. Yes.
Well, I did. And we do have. You've got your. If you guys are watching this on video, which I hope you two are, just on YouTube and Spotify, you can see Keenan's back. In fact, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to make you guys watch it on video if you're not. You tell me, send me a message and tell me what is over Keenan's shoulder. And if you send me a message, tell me the first, 5 to 10 people will send you some swag. Tell me what's on the wall behind
Wow,
it.
man.
All right.
That's good. Right. I know how to market, baby.
You know what? I've been known to do a little something with the marketing.
That was really good.
Hey, man, this has been a blast. I really appreciate you. I know how busy of a guy you are, so that when you take some time to hang out with me and my community, it means a lot. So thank you, sir. Listen, folks, if you've enjoyed this, please give us our 5 stars, give us the great review, all that good stuff. If you haven't enjoyed it, well, don't do any of that shit. Just forget about it and keep it moving, all right? We don't need any negative ratings, man. I need your help. Again, get out there and get Keenan's book, Gap Selling. Pick up our book, Shut the Hell Up and Sell as well. Thanks for your time, guys. Listen, if you don't remember anything else from this podcast, anything else from Shut the Hell Up and Sell, remember this one thing. Shh. Say less. Sell more. Peace out. I wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. If you liked it, please rate us 5 stars on whichever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. And while you're at it, punch that subscribe button. That way you get notified every time we drop a brand new episode. Hey, I'd also appreciate it if you went to our website, shutthehellupandsell.com, and became a member. It's absolutely free. And you'll have the opportunity to listen to previous episodes of our podcast, check out some of our free courses, get a copy of the book, and we'll send you sales tips and motivational nuggets from time to time. Lastly, if you'd like to book me for either appearances or speaking engagements, just send an email to my team at team@shutthehellupandsell.com.